Hello everybody and welcome once again to Clash of the Blames. This is day 3, the last day of this fascinating matchup between former world champion Vladimir Kramnik and the young, talented Grandmaster José Martinez. These two have been dueling it out for the past few days and it has been neck and neck. Going into the last day, José Martinez has a slender lead of just 1 point. There will be 12 games played today, however, so plenty of time for Vladimir Kramnik to get back in, well, not only in contention, he's already in contention, but of course to win the entire match. The way it works is there will be 6 games played online via the Chess Arena website, and there will be 6 games played over the board. The time limits for each game are 3 minutes plus 2 seconds. So, we're going to have a look at the results on the screen, I believe. Let's see if we can do that. We can see there the results from day 1 and day 2. We can see that in the online portion, it was a mix. Day 1, Martinez won, but day 2, Kramnik won the online portion. And in the over-the-board play, José Martinez has scored 3.5 in both days. He's actually won the over-the-board duel twice. Day 1 results in favor of José Martinez, but Vladimir Kramnik did perform much better in day 2, just clawing a little bit back, which is something he desperately needed to do. And as a result, we are very, very close indeed. Just a point separating both the players. We're going to have a look now at a video of some of our partners and sponsors for the event. First and foremost, IT.com, the intelligent domains site. Fully suggest all of you guys to have a look at IT.com, the official partner of Clash of the Blames, a domain registry website like no others. Go to get.it.com. Also, please feel free to check out Pinkerton. Pinkerton, a global leader in security and risk management, and is the official Clash of the Blames anti-cheating partner, making sure that there's no player interference and cheating on site. Make sure you also check out chessarena.com, where the online portion of these games are playing. It's official FIDE partner and platform. You can get 40% off your membership by joining today, with some of the world's best contributing and creating content for the platform. All right, so not long to go now until the first game. We're going to have a quick look, however, at the profiles of each player. If you don't know who they are, well, here's a little rundown. Vladimir Kramnik probably needs no introduction. Former world champion, 49 years of age, with a blitz rating of 2676. Not his best rating, of course, however, still extremely competent. And José Martinez, the young Grandmaster, now representing Mexico, 25 years old, with a massive blitz rating of 2691, and somebody who's won many online tournaments in the recent months, beating some of the best in the world along the way. So without further ado, I believe we are going to be just seconds away now from the games, which will be the online portion, and we're going to be having a look at it on chessarena.com. The games are 3 minutes plus 2 seconds, which is a pretty standard and popular time control for blitz. The extra 2 seconds bonus does make a big difference. Of course, if you were just playing without increment, then flagging your opponent would be a big thing. We've seen a few games that have been flagged in this tournament, but only a handful, or maybe even less. Most of the games have been decided through pure chess And as you can see there, 12.5, 11.5 for Martinez with 12 games to go. Absolutely plenty of chess remaining. We're also, of course, going to be showing you the moves as they play. And I want to shout out also to all of our viewers online who are joining us today, mostly on YouTube. Thank you so much for coming along. And the first game has already kicked off. We have a totally different opening now for all of day one, where it felt like all of day one and day two. We'd been seeing some random systems against the Sicilian played by José Martinez, and with white, we saw Vladimir Kramnik play 1e4 and Martinez reply 1e5. But I felt, and I mentioned on air, I felt as though José Martinez's openings were just not up to scratch at all. I felt as though Kramnik basically got a better position in every single opening. So we see a much more combative side now by José Martinez. And we see a Sicilian, and it looks like a Sicilian Najdorf that has been played. And we have a really topsy-turvy looking position already, a typical position out of an open Sicilian Najdorf. And, well, it's one of those positions where, once again, chances for both sides, extremely dynamic. I love having the black side in positions like this because I love the bishop on g7, the so-called dragon bishop. Very, very important piece, bearing down on the white queen side. The rook on c8 and now the queen on c7 also lining up. However, white has got a very safe king for the moment. He's got a solid structure. He's just kicked the knight with f3. The knight now will either go back to e5 or f6. Unclear which is best. Probably e5, but I don't know. And of course, black has got a weak pawn on h5 and an uncastled king. So there are benefits and drawbacks to the position. You know, it's one of those ones where there are a lot of imbalances in play. And certainly, you know, we're going to get some fireworks. It's one of those positions which is not just going to fizzle out. And this is a much less of a maneuvering battle also. There's going to be some wild tactics going on at some point, which is quite different because we saw a lot of deep maneuvering in the previous games. Knight d5 now by Vladimir Kramnik looks like a very, very decent move to me, attacking the queen on c7, forcing the trade. Bishop takes d5, e takes d5. And now the rook on h4 can actually play a part, which is also a very important thing to take into consideration. So this is very, very cool to see by Vladimir. Really love how he's played, actually. Knight comes to e5 now. And Kramnik does decide to take on e5. Interesting decision. And now we see the swing of this rook over to c4. So Kramnik basically happy to neutralize all that attacking potential. Probably is going to go d6 here. I really do like what he's done here. This is really nice. He's just making sure that, firstly, José Martinez has got no tricks. And secondly, with this little pawn move, he can also put the pressure on black. Now black can't castle easily. And of course, if you take on d6 after queen takes d6, you're also going to get issues with your king. Really, really like white's position here, actually. I think this is a great chance for Vladimir Kramnik. And already José Martinez down to 30 odd seconds. He plays queen d7. Okay. Now, a move like queen b4 comes to mind for white. Queen g5 is in the air as well, hitting the bishop and hitting the e5 pawn. Does that move make sense? I think queen g5 is a serious move as well in this position. And he does play queen g5. And Jose Martinez just says, I'm not bothered at all. I'll castle. You can't take the pawn on e7 because my rook. But after knight c5, queen c6, now surely I can take on e7. Surely I take on e7. And if rook e8, I can play rook d8. And if queen takes c5, I can play queen takes f6. Some tactics there for you early on in the piece. So why can't we just play rook d8 here? And maybe he can take at the end. Maybe it's not so clear, actually. Maybe that line is not so great. So what is Kramnik going to do here? Difficult position. He decides to go with the more clean knight e4. Still think his position is very good. Let's see if Martinez manages to find a way to deal with this. Takes queen f6. Martinez looking for a queen trade, but okay, Kramnik just takes another pawn. Bishop c4, dream position. Rook h1 here, surely. Rook h1, what are we doing here? Isn't that the end of the game? He has to move the rook again. But now you can give a check and go rook f1. Or rook f1 straight away. And g4 also makes tons of sense. Now g5, g6 is in the air. b5, he's just going to nestle that bishop on d5. g5, g6 is in the air. I think Vladimir Kramnik's going to take this one. No ideas really here for black. And indeed, Vladimir Kramnik takes the first game. Very, very nice indeed. Well done, Vladimir Kramnik. A very strong start. And that means he's leveled the match. So the match level as we speak after game one. Of course, they're going to go straight into game two of the online portion. But like we saw yesterday, really, really solid start by Vladimir Kramnik. And as he also mentioned in his post-match interviews, it's really towards the end of the day where the tiredness sets in. And that's where Jose Martinez has his big advantage. But so far, great stuff. And the second game has started. So we're going to get straight there. And I can see out the corner of my eye, we have another Sicilian, but this time Jose Martinez has gone for the Alapin, the C3 Sicilian, which is, well, it's certainly a perfectly legitimate move. It's not seen that much at top level, although there are some grandmasters that employ it from time to time. I remember my countryman, Mr. David Howell. He has certainly played the Alapin a lot, although I think he's also moved on a little bit from it. But we get typical positions like this with an isolated queen's pawn in some of the variations, and this is precisely one of them. And I will say that Vladimir Kramnik, some of my favorite Vladimir Kramnik games are actually in isolated queen's pawn positions from the Queen's Gambit accepted lines. So Kramnik has got tons of experience from both sides here. He's playing with the black pieces in this particular position. Nonetheless, he's got absolutely tons and tons of experience here. So this is very, very interesting to see. A queen e4 threatening mate in one will be dealt with. The question is how, because yeah, knight f6 is the natural move and queen h4. And I guess you can go knight f5 here anyway as black, right? Not fearing the trade because you trade off the light squared bishop, which is a very important piece. There are also ideas of bishop takes h6 here. So knight f5 was indeed played by Kramnik in this position. A totally reasonable move. So far, so good. Knight f5. And I think Jose Martinez probably has to take this knight. He doesn't. He drops back to h3. This is, of course, also an option, but now Kramnik just says, okay, bishop c6. You can have my pawn on f5. What's the idea there, in fact? If I take on f5, which he does, let's see what Kramnik wants to do. Does he want to go bishop d7? I go queen d3. What was Kramnik trying with bishop c6 there? I'm not completely sure. He's just going to say, okay, I'm going to play with the two bishops and enjoy my natural compensation. But I don't think José Martinez will be too unhappy with that. Knight to e5. Played. And takes. And now we have an opposite color bishop situation, which is, I think, favorable for José Martinez for sure, who, you know, he's a pawn up. And the risk here for him is negligible. I think this has been quite the success for José Martinez thus far. Okay, queen d7. Kramnik trying to trade off queens makes a whole bunch of sense as well. Of course, Kramnik now, if he were to make a draw in this position, would be more than happy. Absolutely more than happy. Having won the first. The question is, can José Martinez actually keep queens on? It doesn't look completely straightforward to me. Queen f4 maybe runs into knight d5, and then if there's a trade, you're hitting g2, and then e5 is hanging anyway. So this looks particularly tricky, in fact. This looks particularly tricky. I don't know yet, and in fact, he has decided, you know what, I am going to have to take it off. That is the only move I really have in this position. And then Kramnik decides to play the move pawn to f6, which also makes a whole bunch of sense, trying to trade off some more pawns. His bishop on c6 is just phenomenal. That's the really important part to remember in this position here. It's really important just to remember that this bishop on c6 is the source of Black's major counterplay. b4 by José Martinez. So jospem's just basically saying, look, I'd rather try and kick this bishop away. And in fact, you've got to be careful here. If f takes e5, b5 actually wins the piece. Kramnik does not fall for it, takes, and bishop b2. So white's still a pawn up, but this bishop on c6, bearing down on the white king, will, you know, Kramnik is not going to be unhappy here at all with his position. He will just think that he's got more than adequate compensation for the pawn. The knight has also found its way into e3 here, which is absolutely beautiful for Vladimir Kramnik. And now he's hitting g2. And of course, knight c2 doesn't win an exchange just yet, but that sort of move is in the air. The move knight c4 could be potentially very awkward to deal with. That's why Jospem plays the move rook e2, to be able to beat knight c4 with maybe rook a to e1, but then you can take on b2. So in fact, knight c4 is played by Kramnik. And now this is a tricky little position. In fact, yes, exactly. You have to go rook f2, sidestepping. But look at Black's pieces. Centralized rooks, beautiful knight on c4, beautiful bishop on c6. This just has to be full compensation. Nothing more, nothing less. This looks absolutely glorious. So h3, rook d3, okay. And now pouring on the pressure here. Absolutely love this. And look at these rooks, rook d to d3, both rooks now just slamming down. Kramnik looks like he's played a really gorgeous game. Now knight d2 threatens knight b3, removing the bishop, and then the knight on c3 will suddenly hang. So this, wait a second, knight b3. Has Jospem blundered here? This looks like a straight up blunder. King h2, that looked like it was a mistake. Holy, knight takes a1 and knight d1. Jospem now resorting to tactics, but after rook e1, it's not going to work. It's a full piece, guys. And I think Jospem has had enough here, and he does indeed resign. What an absolutely crushing victory there by Vladimir Kramnik. Absolutely gorgeous game of chess, showing, you know, the power of having, you know, when you sacrifice a pawn, but you have this fantastic bishop that's anchored on c6, especially when the white king side has been loosened because of the move f4. You've got full compensation. And then if you manage to couple that with getting a knight in on e3, it can be really, really dangerous. And Vladimir Kramnik, that's just what a start. 2 out of 2. He's now leading the match for the first time, I believe, in fact, since the match started as well. So awful start for José Martinez. Now, José Martinez is only a point behind. There are 10 games to play. Clearly, it's not time to panic. But if you're José Martinez, you now really have to stop the bleeding. And I wonder if he's going to go back to some of the other openings he played, because he's realized that Kramnik is doing really well in these more conventional orthodox openings. We had the Najdorf in game 1, and we had the Alapin here. Are we going to see José Martinez play some more offbeat Kopek systems and stuff like that we saw in day 1? Remains to be seen. However, great start, and wow, I've been very impressed. Jospem, however, has played poorly, has to be said. He has played definitely not his best chess. So he's going to have to up his level immediately. Great stuff. The next set of games will happen in a few minutes. Remember, in the meantime, to check out chessarena.com, where there is a 40% discount going on as we speak for new members. Make sure you check that out. And even Kramnik himself, I believe, has produced content for the site. The match itself is being played in London. London as a venue, as a chess venue, is obviously one of the most important venues in the history of chess, dating back to the 20th century, the 19th century, in fact. I know, having played in London, in lots of venues in London, that it really does. There are certain places in London which hold a key part of chess history. Simpsons in the Strand, for example, the Savoy Hotel, where Kasparov played short, and even recently the Candidates, where Magnus Carlsen won the Candidates in 2013, ushering in the Carlsen era. So London as a city in chess history, super important. We can see there an update of the scores as well. Kramnik now 13.5 to 12.5. Massive, massive start for the former world champion. The players just taking a small break, as is their right. And a lot of people also, a lot of people watching this at home are saying, well, why are they having breaks? Why are they, constantly pausing the action? It's only blitz. Well, let me tell you, a match of this intensity, the circumstances surrounding this match, it does drain you. And playing chess can, basically non-stop for days on end, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's stressful, and it takes your energy. So having breaks after every 2 games, I think, is perfectly reasonable. They're only having a 5-minute break. And then, of course, when we reach the over the board portion, that's when we will have a slightly longer break so they can get ready for that. I personally love the format. What I also love is that there's really been no major issues, no lag with the software, with the chessarena.com, which has been a really important part of this whole thing. And over the board also, there's been no major issues. So it's been running smoothly from a technical point of view, which, of course, especially in the case of Vladimir Kramnik, is something that he'll be very pleased about. Both players still not there. We will also, I believe, be joined by a rather special guest later today. I will brief you guys a bit later on that. And I know that many of you are watching from all over the world. So shout out to everybody watching this. We don't have people just in Europe tuning in, which is, of course, fantastic, fantastic for chess. And you know, the site itself, I have to say, many of you guys will know who might have seen me over the years, perhaps commentate and play on other sites. I will say, been very impressed with chessarena.com. The layout is slick. The boards look gorgeous. It looks really very, very fun to play on, potentially. So I'll be giving it a go as well myself, getting an account and making sure I get to crush all of you guys watching. Now, the players have sat back down for games 3 and 4 of the online portion. And we're going to get straight back into the action in just a jiffy, where José Martinez has got off to just a gross start here. Start that he would have wanted to avoid, 2-0 down in the first section. Not ideal at all. And off we go. And it's absolutely no surprise that José Martinez has gone back to 1e5. He gave the Sicilian a go. He didn't like what Kramnik had prepared. So he said, you know what, I had better success with e4, e5. And perhaps even more surprisingly, Vladimir Kramnik has now played a Spanish. This is not surprising in itself. Vladimir Kramnik has played plenty of Spanishes in his life and knows the Spanish inside out. But what is surprising is that he's decided not to play his Italian, where, in my opinion, he actually had quite a lot of success with the Italian in those first games. Instead, we have, structurally speaking, something that isn't too far away from what we've previously seen. It must be said, what we have here is not, how to say, a million miles away. But once again, it feels as though Vladimir Kramnik is getting the better of José Martinez. Look at this knight now on f5. Absolutely gorgeous to have this knight here on f5. And what are you supposed to do? Look at this awful knight on d8 here for José Martinez. This is another opening that's gone horribly wrong. Queen f3, the most natural follow-up in the world. Now knight takes h6 check is the threat, hence why knight h7 was played. And here I would expect Kramnik to play h4 or b4. Well, he goes knight a3. He just says, I don't care about knight g5, which is totally fine. I think if he can play b4 or h4, he'll do it. Maybe he's leaving the b4 square open just in case he can go knight c2, knight b4. Nonetheless, I mean, this is about as bad as it gets if you are black in Spanish. This is just totally gross. And he decides to go c4 because he wants to make sure that he's dominating this knight on d8. So that's a really important little feature. And position is just, you know, José's trying to find a way to get out here, right? That's basically it. He wants to find a way to try and get out, but it's basically not possible. There are no ways to relieve the pressure on your position because you can't force any trades. He tries the move rook a7. This move, of course, makes a whole bunch of sense, trying to defend laterally. However, it is still a defensive concept rather than anything else. The knight now comes back to c2. Totally natural stuff. Now, it might look like José can go pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, and take on b2, but I think you'd have to be a brave man to take that pawn. It looks as though the queen could get trapped at any moment. So I don't imagine he's actually going to do that at all. I don't imagine he's going to do that whatsoever. So okay, well, Kramnik doesn't even give him the chance. So he takes on b5 and takes back. Also makes a whole bunch of sense. And look at this. Rook takes a7, trades the rooks, and knight back to a3. I got to say, I feel as though perhaps you didn't have to allow all of this. I think it might still be good for white because this knight on d8 is just so poor that it might just be all right. But at the same time, I personally wouldn't have played like this with white. I would have probably kept my options open on the queen side. But I'm not the former world champion, so what do I know? What the hell do I know? All right, queen b7 by Kramnik. By José Martinez. Queen e2, targeting. And now we see what Kramnik's done. Look at this absolutely stunning position for white, strategically speaking. A knight on f5 and a knight on c4. You cannot ask for better knights. Whereas José Martinez is a knight on d8. Now queen g4 sets up knight takes h6 check. So this is really dangerous. Knight f6 protects the queen, but you can do it anyway. Knight takes h6, and you can trade off and just win a pawn. What? Oh my goodness. You saw Kramnik leap out of his chair there. The first big mistake of the day. Kramnik just completely missed that the knight on d8 was protecting f7. He just blundered a piece. And he's done that a few times this match, but this is just shocking. Of course, if he just brought the knight back to f5, he's just winning. He's a pawn up. He's probably going to win the pawn on d6. And José Martinez has just got nothing. But to do that, it is just shocking. He's going to play on because he's got 2 pawns for the piece. But now José Martinez must be favorite for the game. And what a lifeline this will be. Talk about a stroke of luck. I mean, that would be just absolutely something if he were to win. But he's still got a massive technical job to do because Kramnik has got a rook on a7, a knight on c4, and the pawns are constricting black's play on the king side. And I think Kramnik's looking at this saying, do you know what? I might even still be able to win this. Now, if he were to win this, that would really be something. To blunder a piece like that and win this game. But I don't see an easy way here for José Martinez whatsoever to kind of reduce the tension in his position. Quite extraordinary. Quite extraordinary indeed. And wow, there's a check. Kramnik not interested in trading rooks. Of course, trading rooks here would be just a really bad decision. So he keeps the pressure by keeping tabs on the d6 pawn. The king now comes to g3. h5 makes sense. And ironically, I still think white's got a good position. Quite extraordinary. And in this position here, still Kramnik with more than enough momentum to kind of hold the balance. Knight c6, rook e8. I don't think he has more than that because I don't see a breakthrough. But at the same time, I also don't see a breakthrough for black. So it's one of those weird ones where I think there is some kind of equality here. But bishop g5 I do like by José Martinez. Takes. This is still good. 16 seconds only for Vladimir Kramnik. Rook a7. And now jospem, how is he going to find a way here? Looks very tricky indeed to find a way. Rook c8 and knight e7 by Kramnik. Now the knight might come to g6 check. Doesn't do much. Knight e5 is a much better square for the knight. And despite being a piece up, still black with real sort of problems here. It's difficult. Maybe just rook a6 now by Kramnik, and then go back to a7 and ask jospem what he wants to do. Decides to move the king. King now goes to e3, knight to f4. Oh, and rook takes f7 check. Jospem has fallen for his own trap. And now knight takes d6 and you take on c8. And that is going to be that. That is 3 pawns. And that is way too much. And Jospem has had an absolute shocker. He's fallen for his own, a similar sort of blunder. I'll call it an elementary tactic. And Vladimir Kramnik has won the game. And with that win, Vlad off to a storming start, 3 wins in a row. And now he is up a full 2 points. Just a disaster of a start for José Martinez, who's going to have to just dig deep now and try and get something from this game 4. Absolutely unbelievable stuff. What drama. And I can't believe he's fallen for that tactic. I saw it a while off. And I thought, well, he's not going to, that's why the knight was on g5. It was protecting f7. But he went walkies with his knight, put it on f4, and lo and behold, allowed this tactic. This is bad news for Jospem fans. He's really not at the races today so far. So massive opportunity for Vlad to extend his lead. Now, he's playing black in the following position. And we have a Sicilian. Jospem has stayed faithful to the Alapin. Nevertheless, of course, we saw in game 1, Kramnik had no problems at all. And here it also looks like black. Just go rook c8, e6. Jospem just has not got the opening firepower. That's been a clear feature of this match, in my opinion. It's just been very, very tough for Jospem to get absolutely anything in the opening whatsoever. All right, and in this position here, how can you hate black's position? You're just going to go e6. You've got 0 issues here at all. Maybe you can even go e5. Maybe you can even go e5 here. It's also possible. He does go e6. And let's see how Jospem's going to try to manufacture something here, because it's very, very difficult to see how you even manufacture something here as white. That's the point. It's very, very difficult to see. Okay, a6 makes total sense. I just take black here, basically. The pawn on c3 is weak. The pawn on h3 is weak. About as good as it gets here. Okay, pawn goes to f6. Now the king can come to f7. You can always, well, yeah, I like h4. I was going to say you can put the pawn on g5 if you are really lucky as black. But I really liked h4 by Jospem. But what next? What is the idea after king f7? What are you supposed to do here? Okay, rook e1 has been played. The only issue Kramnik has got is he's lacking a bit of space. So I don't quite know what you're supposed to do with the bishop. He decides to put it on e7. Makes total sense, of course, to play like this. Makes total sense. And okay. Now is he going to put the bishop back on f8? That would look reasonable to me. Jospem playing rook e2, rook e1 is kind of a sign here that he doesn't really have too many ideas. So that's worth noting. And look at this, b5 by Kramnik. He decides to play. This is a very committal move, very concrete move, because now the a6 pawn is weak. So Kramnik has to have a follow-up here after knight a5. Otherwise, I dislike the move immensely. So the question is, does he have some sort of tactical idea? Does he want to go e5 at the right moment? Try and open up the d line because the king is there? Does make sense. Why not play e5 straight away? Is that what he wants to do? It feels like that what he's kind of leaning towards doing. Wouldn't surprise me at all if we do see e5 very, very soon. Decides to go rook d7. Okay, keeping it safe for the moment. Of course, you can. Okay, knight takes c6, rook takes c6. You defend a6. Still prefer black despite everything. You've got all of these levers, b4, e5. I think this is particularly decent position for black. Rook c1 now, I mean, problem with e5 now is when you take on d4, the knight can take, but there are still levers. Maybe he'll just go rook dc7, pressurize the c-pawn, but then you have to be careful about c4 here. I think that's White's big idea, is that he wants to push c4 at the right moment. So black plays bishop d6, perhaps looking at knight f4 checks as well. Makes a whole bunch of sense. This all makes a load of sense. And pawn to c4 indeed. Takes a knight f4 check. So the question now is, I think you do have to take here. I don't think you have a more, I don't think the king e4 runs into, king e4 just looks, it looks like it runs into f5 check. King e3 maybe, but oof, yeah, he decides to take, this is natural on rook c2. This is the most clean way. And I have to say, not impressed by Vladimir Kramnik's position here. Rook b7, I think he'll go rook c3 here is my prediction. But then rook b2. Rook b7 is a good move. King e2 is also a very interesting move. Just saying, I'm just going to avoid the check. Okay, bishop c7 makes sense. I feel like White wants to go c5 at the right moment. Maybe put a knight on c4. But the position is not straightforward here whatsoever. This is not easy. Rook a2 also now indicates that he might want to go d5. But after rook b4, you have to go back to d3 with the king, I believe. No, he goes d5 anyway. But why can't I take on c4 now? I mean, I don't buy this move whatsoever. Or you just take, because g4 is hanging in some lines. Yes, I know the bishop on c7 is hanging, but so what? I think you have to take on c2. I don't think there's another move here. And I think he's going to play bishop e5. He puts it on d6, so he's not worried about rook c6. That's what he's saying. Or g5. But, well, now you just go a5, surely, I would have thought. Indeed, rook c6 and king e7. The rook will come behind the pawn. And now I guess pawn to a4 will be played. Once again, you've got to say Kramnik's position is perfectly fine. Rook a7 check, king f8. Maybe Martinez will repeat with rook a6 and then king e7. But you've got to be happy here. You've just got to be happy here, surely. I think Kramnik, if he makes a draw here, will be more than content with what's going on. And we have more checks, but the pawn is now on a3. I don't think Martinez can do much here. I think, you know, Kramnik's just saying, look, if you want to push, and he's also down to 12 seconds, should be pointed out. And the game did, in fact, end in a draw. After a repetition, what an opening to this day 3 for Vladimir Kramnik. What more do you want? 3.5 out of 4. Total domination with both colors. You know, he even blundered that piece in game 3. A horrible blunder. Just totally forgot that the knight was protecting a pawn. And even after that, his position was so good that he managed to not only hold the balance, he managed to counter back with his own tactic and win the game. Jose Martinez is just out of ideas. He's trying different openings. He's trying different stuff. He's getting absolutely nothing from any opening. He's just worse out the gate pretty much in every single position. And at some point, if you're just consistently worse, that is going to start to show. And I think that's why we see Kramnik now with the 2-point advantage, because there were even games in day 2 and day 1 where I wasn't a big fan of jospem's openings, but he was getting a bit fortunate because Kramnik was making these huge blunders consistently. But today has just been all Kramnik. And I don't know what José Martinez is going to do, but he has to change it up, and he has to change it up quickly because he has a finite amount of time to get things back on track. Now, of course, just one win for José Martinez will mean it's a 1-point game. And we've also seen, perhaps most surprisingly for people watching this at home, that José Martinez has done better in the over-the-board portion versus online. And most people were saying, well, he's just going to crush Kramnik in the online version. Not at all. It's been over the board where he's had most of his success. So in order for him to continue that trend, well, he's going to have to keep the gap close. If he starts going, if this game's 5 and 6 now, if he loses 1.5 half, let's say, going down 3 with 6 to go, almost an impossible task against somebody of Kramnik's quality. Here are the scores on the doors. And as mentioned, just a really, really tough start for José Martinez. He's losing. We haven't quite updated the online portion game 4, but he's losing 3.5 half so far today. So he's down 2 whole points, I believe, if my maths is correct. Of course, guys are now taking a short break, which is, as I mentioned, what they do after every 2 games. They take a 5-minute break. Now, in that break, I don't know whether they're looking at some chess. I don't know whether either of these players have brought an assistant with them. Of course, top-level chess, a lot of the time, we do see players bring their coaches or their seconds. Even in blitz events where there's a substantial prize fund up top, you would often see some kind of assistant or advisor. I don't know if that's the case. I'm not on site. I do know that a few of my colleagues are there around visiting. Looks as though there's a little area where people can play blitz and hang out, which is really nice. And the venue looks very, very nice indeed, and absolutely no complaints so far. What I think is important to point out is that José Martinez, regardless of whether he wins or loses the match, has proven himself as a really, really fundamentally decent player, and somebody who absolutely should be in the groupings of best blitz players in the world. He's shown it online. He's now showing it in person over the board against Vladimir Kramnik. And I hope that this gives Vladimir a slightly different perspective on things, because though I believe that I don't just believe, I think there's empirical evidence to show that in the general chess landscape, there has been an increase in cheating online. That is not to say that young grandmasters cannot play at a world-class level. And I think José Martinez has shown that. And I think he's carried himself very, very well indeed. And with that, I do believe we are going to be going on to the next 2 games of the online portion before we go for our break. And let's see, is José Martinez going to be able to just, come back ever so slightly Let's bring the game up because I believe they have already started. And here we go. Vladimir Kramnik with the white pieces. Again, we see a Spanish. We see a more sort of, let's say, traditional looking Spanish. I was not impressed at all with jospem's last Spanish. Let's see if he gets a better position in the next one. So trade on d4. Now, believe it or not, this kind of Spanish here is, of course, one that we see more with, well, we've seen, of course, those classic Kasparov-Karpov matches in the 90s with these gorgeous Spanishes, especially the ones with Kasparov. And some of his greatest attacking games, in fact, have come from these Spanishes, which, you know, if you look at some of those games from their World Championship bouts, absolutely gorgeous. So I highly recommend it. Now, we haven't gone down, let's say, strictly the lines that we perhaps saw in those matches all those years ago. Nonetheless, you know, clearly still very, very interesting because the bishops especially managed to do so well, pointing at that black king. I think that's the point, that those bishops just do so well. And I personally, you know, as an attacking player here, can't stand playing the black side of these particular positions. It's for me really, really tough to play this. So what is José Martinez going to do here? Because, again, if you just allow white to continue with this attack, you're going to be really, really struggling, in my opinion. So I don't think you want to do that whatsoever. Okay, the knights have moved over to the queen side. Not totally sold on this either, must say. Not totally sold on this. And now the pawn has weighed its way to d6 as well. And I've got to say, this position looks dead lost for black, to my eyes. Again, I'm not using the machine. I have no engine running, so I can't tell. But why is black kind of alive in this position? Okay, he goes for the, let's say, the natural move, which is to take on b2 and say, well, if my position is bad, I might as well win a pawn. But isn't this mate? And there you go. Bishop takes h7 check. Holy moly, the Greek gift. And in fact, you don't even have to play the pure Greek gift, because if you take this queen c2 or queen b1 check, excuse me, and you win the bishop back. So this is already, you know, to my eyes, you know, just god awful for José Martinez. And he's also 20 seconds down. He goes king h8, but now you just go knight g5 for the crowd. You know, you go knight g5, but then he's going to go g6, I think. So you want to be a little bit careful. The idea of knight g5 is, of course, put the queen on h5. That's the key point. But no, this is, you know, just, you don't want to be playing this sort of stuff, basically. You do not want to be playing this sort of chess in a blitz game, especially. Just awful. Okay, well, we did get knight g5, g6. So where is the follow-up now? And rook e7. Vladimir Kramnik now infiltrating with rook. Of course, we're not worried about the rook being taken on a1, because after queen takes a1, it's pretty much mate. So rook e7 sets up knight takes f7 check. And actually, what are you supposed to do here? This looks like game over. 55 seconds for José Martinez, and this is bad. This is really bad. This is dreadful bad. The bishop comes back to g7, but I very much doubt that that helps things. And now you just need to be a bit clinical here with white. So what is the clinical way? You know, I would be, well, he took on f7. Of course, this has to be completely fine, right? This move just has to be completely fine. And 20 seconds, Martinez, miserable, goes queen e8, bishop takes, oh my goodness, and queen h, and that's it. He's had enough. He is out of there. This is just an absolute tonking. Kramnik is giving him an old-fashioned shoeing. And Martinez now starting to really drift. Kramnik 3 points up in the match. And you've got to say, this is just, I mean, it's just awful. It's just awful. The next game has started. We do have another Alapin, so let's just get straight to the next game. Catastrophic for José Martinez. I mean, that game was really bad. That was just, you know, he didn't really have a good feel at all of that position. And as I mentioned to you, incredibly dangerous. You've got two bishops pointing at your king. You don't know, you know, if you don't defend precisely, you're just going to be mated. And he got beaten in about 22 moves there. So we've got a position that's very similar, or maybe even identical to the Alapin we had a couple of games ago. But this is really, really tough. Knight c4, knight d5. Okay, we're still, you know, more or less in the realms of equality here. So bishop e4, 6. Okay, Kramnik just playing very, very reasonably is really the idea. Knight to e3, and well, few ideas here for black. Wouldn't surprise me if we see knight f4 check, king f1, f5 by Kramnik, by the way. That's maybe he's going to get frisky now. Knight f4 check, king f1 on the board. Wouldn't surprise me to see f5 here. And Kramnik just saying, you know what, if you allow me to take on f3, I'm going to be doing really well. He might just play a6 though and play it safe. Not completely clear. Not completely clear. He does go for the safe option with a6, a bit of pragmatism now, creeping into Kramnik's game, d4. Now we're going to see bishop d6, in my opinion. Looks like the natural move. He does go f5 now. Sorry, he does it another way around. Sorry, I completely forgot he could actually do it, this move. And actually, this is very strong, because if you take on c6 after rook takes c6, the c3 pawn is also just hanging. So this is really gross. And what are you supposed to do here again with white? At least he's got a time advantage now. That's something. That's important. So let's see. Okay, he decides to take on f5. This is an extremely radical decision. Extremely radical, and one that well, if the tactics work, hold on a second, because the knight on f4 is hanging. This is why I wanted to play bishop d6. So felt as though that knight on f4. But is Kramnik now going to play knight takes g2, kind of counter shot? But yes, f5 might have been a blunder now in hindsight. It might have just been a blunder. Decides to take, and the point is you're hitting the rook on c8. So the knight on f4 is hanging and the rook on c8 is hanging. Yeah, not really a necessary move here from Kramnik to play f5. A little bit rushed. And now he's laughing and look at his face, hates his position. It's like, why did I do this? Why didn't I just play bishop d6 like a normal person? He decides to take on g2. Well, that's one move you could play. His idea is bishop takes c8, bishop takes f3. So I think we're going to get bishop g4 looks, or just take on g2, rook c7. But surely white is just doing really well now, just a pawn up and a better position. Yeah, this is just a catastrophe for Kramnik to allow this. And it may give Martinez the lifeline he needs. He really needs to win this game, though. That you just have to win this game or the match is over, in my opinion. You just have to win this game. You don't get opportunities like this all the time. Position looks so good, though, that I don't really see him not winning. But Kramnik has just nabbed a pawn here. That's actually worth noting, because this is, a pawn is a pawn. And if you can't actually take advantage of this position, then suddenly, Kramnik once again has got chances. Incredible. And the knight comes into e5. Okay, we've had a few trades, but now Kramnik has got the bishop on d5. Bishop comes to f5. Okay, some check on g6. Rook h6, defending laterally. Looks fantastic. And again, José Martinez thought he was given a gift, but he's really struggling to put it all together today. He's really struggling to put it all together. Okay, the pawn goes to h4, king f7. Kramnik slowly unraveling. Okay. Now Kramnik's managed to set up a kind of structure here. The light square bishops come off, I think he's going to be perfectly set. Bishop h6 I really like as well. Pawn to f4. Okay, still very much in the balance. The only thing that's massively on Jospem's side here is, of course, that he has the time advantage. Kramnik down to just his last few seconds. And Jospem finding a breakthrough with f5 here. Rook takes h5. Yeah, it feels as though Kramnik has definitely gone wrong there. Jospem using his time advantage very wisely. Bishop g6, for example, is a good move now, pinning the knight rook. And I do believe José Martinez is going to get off the mark here. King g1. Yeah, rook f6 is good enough. Bishop d6 is good enough. Any move here is really good enough. Bishop d6 looks classy enough. Goes rook g3. I think that's also perfectly reasonable. Takes, rook h7. Yeah. This is a matter of technique now. Vladimir Kramnik will carry on because he's got that construction on the queen side. And of course, you can always mouse slip. You can always make a blunder. We've seen a few of them already today. So let's see. Okay. Yeah, king f5, d5. Okay. Kramnik trying to reduce the material on the queen side, but I think it'll still all be in vain. Rook c8 now looks perfectly good, and rook c7 and king e6 will be played. Then you can go h5 exactly before the rook comes behind. Bishop c3, h6, bishop c6. Rook b6 you can't do because of bishop d4 check. Got to be careful. So he's given the check. And now bishop h4 check and d7 should end proceedings. Rook c7 is also fine. Bishop d4 check, king h2. I think the other way was actually better. Bishop f2 is also fine. Yeah, I think Vladdy is gonna give this one up, and in fact he does. So we have there the first victory of the day for José Martinez, and basically it was a must-win situation. He got given a bit of a gift. Vlad will be a bit annoyed with himself because, again, he had a fantastic opening, and then he just lashed out with f5 when he could have played the move bishop d6, avoided all of this nonsense. And is that the lifeline that José Martinez needs? Now, I believe, if my calculations are correct, the score has been reduced. I believe we are, I think it's only by 2, but I will keep you posted on that, because even I've lost track at the moment. We're going to go for a break while we get the scores sorted out. And when we come back, we're going to be joined by a very special guest who I will introduce on the resumption of things. But despite that loss, Kramnik's still fully in control. We're going to go for a break. See you very soon.
Yep, that's good.
Looks like we're on. Hello,
Okay.
everybody. It looks like we're back. Welcome. If you've just joined us, and if you've been here since the beginning, thanks for staying with us. This is Clash of the Blames, day 3. And it's the matchup between former world champion Vladimir Kramnik and the young budding Grandmaster José Martinez. They're playing a total of 36 blitz games. We're already, well, my maths is really poor, I guess, over 3/4 way through now. We've got 6 games remaining, and those are going to be played over the board. Still blitz, 3 minutes plus 2 seconds. Nevertheless, the situation is very, very clear. It's been an absolutely catastrophic start for today for José Martinez. He did manage to peg a game back just before the break. That means, I believe, that there is a 2-point advantage for Vladimir Kramnik, meaning that he only has to tie the over the board portion in order to win the match. We're going to get to the action in just a few minutes. Before we do that, though, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome a special guest to the show. You are a professor, aren't you?
Yes, full professor of computer science.
Professor Kenneth Reagan. Professor, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me on. Welcome to my home in Buffalo.
And you're in Buffalo at the moment. We were just saying in the break, I'm a big Bills fan, and the heartbreak has been real over the past few years, although I do believe in the arm of Mr. Josh Allen. I think you will win a Super Bowl one day. Fingers crossed. But thanks for joining us. So it's not too early there, you being on the East Coast. Kind of nice time of day. Have you been following the match since the beginning?
Yes, I have. I've been officially screening the match for the chief arbiter, Shohreh Bayat. And I've been following Hikaru's commentary.
Okay, brilliant. Now, of course, the premise of this match has been rooted in some, let's say, rather I have to find the correct word politically here. Harsh allegations by Mr. Vladimir Kramnik, the former world champion, who has been strongly voicing his concerns over the growth of cheating, especially on online platforms, online chess, especially when there's been decent prize money up for grabs. Over the past few months, maybe it's even been a year now, I'm not sure, he's been on what looks like a bit of a quest to, bring about awareness of the issues of cheating online. And Ken, I know you are one of the world's leading experts when it comes to cheating in chess online. And what we'll do is, while I commentate the games, perhaps you can give us, while we're just in the beginning of this over the board game here, give us your view on the current state of cheating in chess and potential solutions for this, what seems like a growing problem.
Yes, well, there are 2 levels to the problem. One is the actual incidence of cheating, which regrettably is non-negligible even in over-the-board chess, even this year. But the pandemic, when regular chess went online, unfortunately saw a great increase in the cheating rate. And that also raised awareness and consciousness of the depth of the problem. However, it is possible to take this to extreme. The other level is the discomfort. You could even say paranoia, to quote Jacob Agard about this. And he's written some very insightful articles about the extent of that in the chess community. And there I have more comforting words. For instance, I supported at the time, the chess.com report on Title Tuesday that was posted in late April. I have my own independent verification that there is not widespread large-scale cheating in Title Tuesdays. There is some, but my statistical methods are able to show that with hundreds of thousands of data points, overall they match the expectation quite closely.
So in other words, what you're saying is that there is an element of cheating, but perhaps not as full-blown as somebody like Vladimir Kramnik believes.
Right. And although you can't prove a negative in an individual case, you can prove the absence of a massive positive.
Right. Okay. Well, that seems like a fairly sensible position. So, and I don't want to get overly controversial on the stream today. But would you say then that you feel as though Vlad has got a point, but perhaps because he's also produced his own statistical analysis, often posting it on his Twitter channel. What do you think about what he's posted specifically? And do you think he perhaps has, well, why don't you just tell us what you think?
They're not normalized. He does not do the statistical techniques that are required to establish a benchmark of reference, whereas I have a predictive analytic model. I set expectations. I know the confidence intervals around them. These are basic statistical vocabulary. It's been known since the 1700s, but absent from his posts.
Okay, so clearly then, as a professor, because you are a professor of statistics, is that right?
Computer science.
Computer science. I beg your pardon, but with an educator formation in statistics and modeling.
Right. I also do quantum computing. It's a textbook I co-authored.
Yeah. Have you tried to reach out to Vlad directly?
Well, we corresponded on Twitter. I was given he was given my email way back in 2020.
Right.
We've never had a sit down in a cafe or in a study type conversation. Only a few Twitter exchanges where, for instance, he just fundamentally doubts my ability to index things to standard ratings rather than blitz ratings, even though I've quoted a study by Dorian Quelly over in Switzerland or Austria, a doctoral student in mathematical economics, showing that, in fact, these standard ratings are predictive enough to use as a benchmark.
Right.
Because you might say that the chess.com ratings, if you are testing a hypothesis that 10% of players cheat, then you're not going to use the chess.com ratings for that.
Right.
So there's a basic lack of understanding there. But otherwise, no, we've not. I've inquired of FIDE who are the statistical people that he references, and I've not received names to have a conversation with there either.
I see. Okay. Understood. All right. Well, look, we'll perhaps talk a little bit more about that, but the game is in full swing. This is game one of the over the board portion. We have we had Italians for the first 2 days. We've now gone to Spanishes, but regardless, it seems as though that Kramnik has had pretty good success in the openings, and judging by this position as well. However, I have to say this is perhaps one of those positions which is actually manageable for Black, because he's managed to get that break in now down the center with d5, and I think I would actually take Black here, Ken, in this position. The pressure down the d file looks serious, and on top of that, he's a minute up on the clock.
Well, we have a little advantage that hopefully the players don't have, which is we can see the Avalavar for Black creeping down the board. This, by the way, at the original Clash of Claims or in a tournament held right afterward, there was an incident where an Avalavar was potentially visible in the playing hall, and I was actually called in over that. But anyway,
not ideal.
You're certainly right. We can see as knowledgeable chess players that Black is occupying good squares, White is under pressure, Black's rooks have more scope, Black's queen is better placed. So everything was, White has a latent kingside attack, but it's not close to getting off the ground.
Yeah. And now a nice safe looking move there by Martinez, just taking away the squares from the White Knights, preventing that bishop from doing any damage. 27 seconds only for Kramnik. Tough position to play as White. Bishop e4. The bar shot down there. Hated that move. Don't quite know why, but maybe you can take on b4 and go rook a2 and pin along the second rank. Looks reasonable. Yeah. Looks reasonable to me.
Yeah, I would have maybe considered rook a7 there instead you went rook b8. By the way, Hikaru in his commentary has been saying the main thing is that Jose has been repeating poor openings.
Correct.
And the main difference in strength between them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't remember Jose ever getting anything seriously decent out of the opening almost at any point. So I really do agree with that, and I think that's hindered his chances in this in this match. And now he, 2 points behind, 6 games to go. Every game is absolutely critical. He does have a chance here, though. He's got that a pawn that's running down. Kramnik trying to force something on the king side, but the king can always just go to f8. 17 seconds now for Kramnik. What is he going to do? Knight h2 feels like a desperation kind of move here. Bar shot down, hated that. Maybe just f5 looks good here, or feels like there's some knockout blow here for sure.
Yeah, well, you want to get a2 in somehow. So it's
yes,
but he played f5. So
he does go f5. This is a natural move. Bishop a2, queen f7. Like that move, tidying things up. Looks very nice indeed. And that goes back to f3. Okay. But Martinez has to hurry up as well. Rook c8 looks reasonable.
Yeah, things can go well. 20 seconds left.
Yeah. Sort of position where you can just play a move like king h8, right? Just save some time, get the king on a safe square.
Yeah.
And he does it.
Hikaru said while streaming Title Tuesday yesterday is that, positions where he was worse, if I can get them to the bullet stage, then I'll know I'll win. And this is now in the bullet stage.
Knight d4 is a lovely little idea. And now Martinez only with 3 seconds, 6 seconds, and now it's anybody's game. I really would have put my bets on Martinez, but now, look at this. Now there's just absolute chaos on the board. And what's going on here? He's an exchange down, but he's got the a pawn still, and bishop a6, queen e6, maybe queen e7. Why not? Bishop goes to b5. 7 seconds, and now the piece is starting to fly. Bishop b4. Knight goes to e4. Can you take on f5 here? No, he takes on e4, takes on a3, gets rid of that pawn. The queen now comes to c5. Now this is clearly winning now for white. And what a coup this would be for Vladimir if he wins this. Bishop goes to c3, great move, trading off the dark square bishops. Now it's really toast. Now queen c7 and queen takes g3 is going to be the end here. Surely rook c6 coming as well. Queen g6, any old move. And yeah, Martinez there, you can tell by the gesture moving that queen. Yeah, he might just give up here. He puts the queen on f8, but this is, for all intents and purposes, just done. Rook h7 is mate on the board. A very, very disappointing game there for Martinez. And the trend is very much intact here, Ken, with Vlad winning that first game. And what that means, he's 3 points up with 5 games to go. So quick math means that he has to win at least 4 out of 5 here, does Mr. Martinez.
That's correct. And what happened in that game was Black played moves the computer liked, or we liked, but they were too loose. And when you don't have time to think, looseness is a very bad thing.
Correct.
You notice Hikaru's games, his positions are always as sturdy as fortresses, even when they're worse.
Yeah, I think in the case of Hikaru, a lot of people remember Hikaru as a swashbuckling young hacker. But actually, as he's matured as a chess player and has matured as a human, he's a very, very safe player. He doesn't go nuts really ever at all nowadays. Yes, sturdiness is important. But he'll be terribly disappointed there, Martinez, because he really did have a wonderful position. And he was up on the clock. So he's got white now. I think this is just a must-win game, actually, because a loss, and we already know that Kramnik is nearly there. So they're repeating this line, Ken, of the Alapin, which again has not been at all successful for Martinez. So let's see how.
Yeah, it's not how I play the Alapin. I used to play it.
Knight e2 is slightly different, I think, already. Doesn't look at all threatening, though, does it?
Oh, sorry, I'm clicking the game with Hikaru's commentary. Yeah, I don't play bishop c4 there, so never mind.
Yeah.
So,
again, I mean, it's such a bizarre opening to play, because you've got to know this inside out to really get anything, in my opinion. I mean, you really, and instead, I mean, look how easy it is for Black to play e6, bishop g4, and as white, you're the one who're like, do I go b3, do I go d3, do I go d4, do I go f3? You've got all of these choices.
Yeah, I played d4 early. Yeah, what was told when I played in the 1978 U.S. Championship, you know, I was known for not studying chess. I was interested in academics and playing bad openings. But the people said, hey, that Alapin you use is a good opening. You shouldn't have shied away from it. I did beat Leonid Jankovic with it in round 1. But anyway, still, so when I see the Alapin misplayed on move 4, anyway, okay.
Yeah. Well, look, we've got a rather unusual position because the queen is on e1 and the knight is on g3. I still fail to believe that. Yeah, bishop takes a3 looks actually totally reasonable here. B takes a3. Okay, white has got the 2 bishops, but they're not activated. Yeah, d3's weak, of course. I'm not quite sure the best way for black to proceed here. It's not totally obvious to me.
h5?
Yeah, that's one of the moves that definitely look reasonable. I think he'll play it, actually. It feels like a Vladdy sort of move, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. The hand is hovering. No, he decides just to castle. Of course, totally reasonable. Now, queen e4 looks like a sensible move to my eyes here, threatening the bishop and threatening mate, kind of trying to force the trade of queens on your terms.
Yeah.
But, and then maybe you take back with the bishop. Okay, he goes a4, also very reasonable. Clearly looking to use the b file and activate that bishop. Rook b1 looks very sensible indeed.
Liquidate the bad pawn. Now queens come off.
Mm-hmm. And what's the idea now? G6
has a time advantage.
G6. That looks gnarly.
Well, yeah, you want to play bishop f5. Obviously, it's bishop.
Yeah,
bishop was trapped on g4. That's why I wanted to play h5, h4 to liberate. Actually, maybe h5 was tactically questionable because of h3 back then, but in any event, now you've made f5 as a landing square.
Can you go knight e4 here, bishop f5, and then g4? Or is that a ridiculous idea?
No, that makes sense to me. Although, however you slice and dice it, I think we're going to have 2 knights against 2 bishops.
Yeah.
Or 2 knights against a bishop and a pawn on c1.
Well, that bishop is a pawn at the moment, but it's got chances. He goes f3. He goes this way, so he decides to go the 2 bishops route this way.
Mm-hmm.
He takes f5. But how do you ever just get these guys into play here? I mean, tough position. Rook b5 maybe. Rook b5 here.
Yeah, well, obviously one is hoping to play bishop a3, but you have to play king f2, e1 to make that work.
He does go rook b5 and trade.
Okay, good idea for white. I didn't see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was good because now at least now you can now go g3 stopping knight f4, but you've got ideas now of activating finally the bishop on a3, and I think this has been good for Martinez. I like how this has progressed for him. I still think black is fine, but I think this is okay, basically.
Black is not able to get a knight into d3 easily. That's a key point.
Correct.
You want to play knight c7, a6, c5, but it's going to take time.
Correct.
Or e6, d7, c5.
Bishop finally does come to a3.
Yeah.
And now rook d5 preventing a5, because that was in the air as well, because the e7 square was available. So a5 was maybe a nuisance.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is what to do now. h5. Yeah, well, tricky position to play on, with just a minute or so on the clock here.
One very practical thing is Jose had a time advantage 2 minutes to 1:30. Now
Correct.
He's down 40 seconds on the clock, and that's significant in a position like this. 30 seconds on the clock. Yeah.
Certainly is. What about just rook a5 here? Or is that just too elementary? Just saying, I want to win the pawn on a4. What am I supposed to do against rook a5?
Good question. Well, yeah, good question. The knight on c6 holds everything together.
He goes e5.
Ooh,
Very committal.
That no, not do that. Expand those bishops. Oh no.
But
go h4. Wow, this is if I had the two bishops against two knights, I'd do this. So we can have okay. Oh no,
gf4. Look at this. Just complete insanity. King f3.
Oh, now you got the knight to e5 to d3 though. There was that point.
Yeah. You can still do something similar.
Now you want to play knight d7 and the other knight to e5. Let's see. I mean, our friend the eval bar is liking white, so all that I would have said what I was saying even without the eval bar. Okay, so knight, so e5 to d3 happens right away. And black now at least has some solidity, but oh.
But there's a knight d5 almost mating net. You know, if the king was on g6, knight d5 would be mate.
Right. Right.
So rook e7 check you can't play because king, well, you can maybe, but says white is doing great, but 20 seconds for José Martinez. Yeah. He decides just to take the pawn.
17 seconds on the move, yeah. Oh, rook, white black doesn't have the knight on c6 anymore. That was the key linchpin.
Yes.
But d5, okay, that's a good square. Guards f6 and e7.
But the bar is saying it's just over.
Play h5. Oh, ooh.
Oh, hated that move.
Yes, h5 was good.
Rook f3 maybe? What has he done? Oh, he just takes on d2. He's just blundered the d2 pawn. Yes. And he can't go rook takes c4 because of knight e3 check. Whoa, bishop d4. It's so close. Rook d3. This is a disaster for Martinez. 3 seconds left. Yeah. King g4. You could take on c3, and now you're just free rolling this position as black. What an utter catastrophe for Martinez here.
White's h pawn never moved, and he's down to 3 seconds. This is toast. Very easy to play.
c2, and that's it. And you can't escape the check. And that, ladies and gentlemen,
that
is almost a clincher. That is,
needs 4 wins on the trot to tie. Yeah,
he needs 4 wins on the trot. Wow, this was a really sad game. He had chances. Again, the opening was such that playing those kinds of positions in a blitz game is really, really tough. Playing accurately, because every move has to be precise, and you need time. It doesn't come instinctively, those sorts of positions. But this is clearly where, Ken, we're seeing the benefit of experience, and Kramnik has just bolted up today. And with that victory, situation is clear. Martinez has to win every single game remaining, which, judging by current form, it looks very unlikely. What is actually statistically, talking about statistics, what would you estimate his chances of winning 4 in a row in a percentage term?
Well, if you discount draws and put them as equal players, it's a 1 in 16 chance. So 6% chance. But however, there are draws. You only need a draw to clinch. So I would put that down only at about a 1% chance. I mean, streaks of 4 consecutive victories have happened even in World Championship and candidates matches. So, it could happen. But I don't think psychologically he's there for it. He had chances in the last 2 games, and this is where also the word that Kramnik would be superior in the over the board portion of the games is coming out.
Yeah, which actually hasn't been the case, right? In days 1 and 2, believe it or not, it's been the contrary. It's been Martinez who has been kind of in control on over the board, but today we're just seeing a real meltdown. And look at this today. Only 1 win for Martinez. Kramnik has scored 6.5. He's up 6.5, 1.5 today. And,
Right.
you know, obviously that is just, well, it's very unexpected, number one. And number two, it's an almost impossible task now for Martinez to overcome. As you said, psychologically, to be in this situation after being up yesterday 1 point, we expected a much closer match.
Yeah.
Very, very tough for the young Grandmaster.
Yes.
But
well,
go on, Ken.
After the Olympics, we have to take seriously the idea of athletes being affected by day-to-day, momentarily bugs or other ailments or distractions. So,
well, we can say, look, I mean, I think it's pretty common knowledge now. I didn't want to talk about it too much, but José Martinez did lose his mother very recently as well, which clearly can impact you at any time. He's a young guy, so for that to happen is obviously absolutely tragic, and heartfelt condolences to him for such a devastating loss. Nonetheless, yes, Ken.
So I also have to qualify by saying that out of just 8 games played so far today, you know, my error bars are pretty wide. So, you know, people have ups and downs, normal. So,
right, exactly. And this is definitely a down day. And you could really have, you actually kind of felt it from the very off, or at least I did, felt as though, you know, Martinez was, you know, even just after game one, maybe not game one, you felt, okay, game one was bad, but game two, and then it was like, okay, really struggling. Game three, and then he, you know, Kramnik even blundered a piece. I can't remember which game it was in the blitz portion. He just blundered a piece straight up, and he still won that game. His position was still good enough for him to kind of manufacture an opportunity. So absolutely nothing has gone for Jose today. And I'm not sure, do they play the whole match? That's one thing that we will need to get confirmation of. For example, if Kramnik wins the next game, are they then going to play the remainder of today? I guess it really doesn't make sense because there's no...
Did they play the last game in Madrid? I'm trying to remember. I think they did.
Maybe they'll play anyway. Maybe they've got their own bonus for wins, bonuses, and so on like that. We'll soon see. But they will be resuming. And yeah, Vlad has just turned up today. But once again, I think the biggest factor in this match has just been that Jose's openings have just been garbage. I mean, they've been really bad in general. And on the long run, you can't really expect to beat a world-class player like Vladdy if your openings are all horrible and you're getting bad positions all the time. Eventually, it's going to catch up with you. So... all right, and here they are, and it looks as though we are ready for game number 3 of the over-the-board section. Situation is clear. José Martinez needs to win every single game. No draws. Any draw, and he will lose this match. Is he going to pull it out the bag? 1% chance, Professor Reagan gives.
Yeah, 17-14 on the scoreboard, but it's +4 now, right?
It is.
Are we off by 1?
We're off by 1. Yeah, it is +4 by now. Yes. So
we have a mainline opening on the board, Rui.
Yeah.
So this is
the main of main lines.
It was played when I was 10 years old. Reminds me a little bit of a famous Fischer Leonid Stein game.
That's the one of many.
Yes. So.
Yeah. So B3 knight B6. Of course. I mean, this has been played. This early knight C4 wasn't all the rage as much as I can remember back in the day. However, clearly it's a reasonable opening. And G6. Yeah, I think what's important now for Martinez is to try and just get a playable position. But already you have to be careful, right? Because A5 threatens to win the knight here.
Right. So the problem with the Spanish torture is it's easier to play for white. So That's a practical
Well,
in a blitz game.
yeah, I mean, there is. I mean, we really don't see these kind of Spanish mainlines that much at top level in tournaments now, do we? If I'm honest, so there's a reason why there's been a shift away from these mainline Spanishes.
People realized that you could play bishop c5 for black, sacrifice a pawn, and it was fine, and it's fine. So
also true, yes. The marshal also, of course, yeah. So bishop b5 again. You know, if I had to take something, it would be white, but at least there's some play here for Martinez.
Yeah, there is a little bit. White in a lot of positions, white could just write down bishop a3, queen c2, rook a b1, rook b2, other rook to b1, but white does have to be a little careful on the king side.
Correct.
Ooh. Okay.
Okay, c4, knight f6. All looks pretty standard so far. Is Kramnik going to play knight g5 here? I think that's the move he's definitely thinking about. He goes bishop b2. Don't like it. Now I think we should go f4 as black and try for this King's Indian like h6 g5 and get that pawn storm going with the bishop locked out of business on b5.
Right. The engine's liking white, but with the King Indian structure on the king side, the engine always likes white. So
correct.
So anyway,
decides to take. Also reasonable.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now white has the e4 square. Black didn't want that. Well, but maybe not so. Maybe it's not so consequential. At least.
Well, it depends because after knight d2, which is the sort of move you would want to play here as white, does black have an interesting intermezzo somewhere to disturb things? We're going to soon find out because knight d2.
E3. I was about to say e3 is coming. Yeah.
E3, right? Exactly. And if rook takes e3, some bishop g5 to try and disturb.
Yeah, let's see. With a pawn though, and you can try to hold the pawn on e3 and reinforce e4. You just can't support it by the rook. So maybe black now plays e4 himself. To what?
No, I don't think so. Because I think you can just take that and then you open up the bishop on the long diagonal. I don't like that. But bishop f5, bishop c3 is reasonable.
Yeah. So I could play rook a8 to a7. Black, I think, should invest time to. Well, no, knight b3 is coming. Ooh. That's one subtle point.
Yeah, if you have nothing going on the king side here, then bishop d3. Why can't I take on a5 here? Just rook a8?
No, just e4. Ignore what's going on.
Okay.
Play with nice pieces on the king side.
Makes sense.
I mean, of course, we see the eval bar with a 1 point advantage to white, but Kramnik almost moved his rook.
Kramnik in for the deep think here.
Yeah. One of my new results in my chess model is that on moves where you think a long time, you play about 600 ELO worse.
Oh, I can believe that.
Yeah. Thinking a long time is a sign of difficulty.
Correct.
So anyway, it's reproducing work that others have noted, mainly with blitz chess. There was one other over-the-board study with Grand Prix tournaments that reached a conclusion, but it's much more vivid in my full model. Ooh, a sacrifice.
Look at this, rook f1.
Rook f1, wow. This is interesting. Taking it, gotta take it, of course. Oh, it took it that way, yeah. Yes.
He does take.
Okay, now of course the rest of black's position is decrepit, but how can white's knight cause trouble? G6 is hard to defend.
He's going to take on a5, I guess. Yeah, and he's just saying you can't do anything. A phenomenal
Black's
idea.
knight is no squares. That's Black's problem. Knight c8 looks awful.
This is a phenomenal idea, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure Petrosian is watching this game with glee. So, ooh, okay.
Knight e3.
Air.
Okay, things getting.
Yeah, that was actually a good move by Black because Rook A8 maybe recovered a bishop. I don't know. So now White is just ignoring Black. Black's knights at least will go to B2, D3, get into the game. I don't know. What's White's threat? Okay, B2, knight B2. Is White, what if White's bishop on D1 could reroute to kingside diagonal, then fireworks could happen. But I don't think
15 seconds only for Vladimir Kramnik here. Big moment. Queen D7. That is a blunder. Can you go knight D1 here and threaten Queen F2 check?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
And threaten knight takes E3. I wonder if he'll play it.
Oh, it might be a draw.
King H6.
Okay, oops.
Knight E4.
Still good for Black.
Tricky position.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Rook A8.
I wonder if that would happen.
Kramnik now 6 seconds only. It's going to be a shootout. Bishop comes to C3. Surely now knight D1. Goes to D3 instead. Also makes sense. King H2, safeguarding the king. Also makes sense. Rook D8 hitting the queen, Queen E6. But now what do you do as Black? Tough 4 seconds.
Knight F2.
Rook goes back to A8. Bishop D2, Rook A7. Queen F5 now. Oh, now we've had a trade of queens. Now let's just watch the position.
Yeah, get some increment on the clock. It's 2-second increment. Whoops, that bishop was hanging. And it's done.
Nice.
Well, okay, well, there's one.
Well,
you see Mayat on the camera.
There you go. That's one of the 4.
Yeah.
I didn't think that Kramnik had to go in for that. He went for this speculative rooks exchange sacrifice. Didn't feel like that was necessary whatsoever. At that
problem
point.
is by taking pieces off the board, you reduce the specter of danger to Black's open to kingside. So
correct. But at the same time, yeah, it did feel a little bit unnecessary, the whole thing, to be honest. So we do have the next match straight up, and seems as though, well, what was it? 1%. What do you give it now, Ken? So we were at 1%. He now needs 3 in a row.
Yeah, so if you discount draws, it would now be about 12% to tie the match. But with draws in present, I'd say it's about 5%.
5%. Okay. For all of you betting, 5%. Look, for those of you guys who play poker, and you've got 2 kings against 2 queens, and the queen hits on the river. That's what that 5% looks like here, ladies and gentlemen. So it can happen. I don't think it will happen. Let's see. Okay, E4, C5.
What's the longest streak that there has been in this match?
Not long at all. There's not really been. I think today, the first 3 games, I think, has been. I don't recall there being more than a 3-game streak at all. Let's see if we can get the game on the board. Okay, we've got the old position. Let's get the new one. As we can't see the position at the moment. Okay, we can see a side version, and it looks as though we've got a completely different Sicilian at the moment. I think Martinez has just abandoned this Alapin.
Right, so maybe he's taken advice to play Knight or Sicilian, as Hikaru was screaming yesterday.
Here we go. Well, he's just played, he's played some sort of much more standard position, put a knight on c3, and we've got a position here. Again, I don't think it's anything special for white at all. In fact, I still probably would prefer black here.
Mm-hmm.
Nevertheless, at least...
well, white took on d4 with the queen. It's also off. So, and white didn't get the usual play with the queen going to e3 that one gets with that line. So this is very strange. Black is very comfortable already. I mean, black has played all the moves. White is not yet threatening to occupy the d5 square. That never happened, which is one of your hesitations in this line. So I mean, the eval bar says white is not worse, but at any rate, in fact, black has now achieved d5. So this is all systems go for black.
Yeah, I think Kramnik has to be happy here. There is a rook takes a7 in the air, though, which I was mildly curious about. Was that... was that in the air at some point?
Good question. Oh.
E5 94. Ooh. Now things are getting hairy because I can take and then take on b4. What is this? I think you take on b4 here, right? EF3. Yeah. Now you can take on a7 or g2.
So you win all the inside pawns, but your king gets rattled. So I mean, the computer's eval hasn't budged a bit, even though the position's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I'm not a huge fan here of.
It's normal here. Queen C7. Oops, E6 happening. No.
Yeah, so E6. I think you just take on C2.
Yes, and then does white do anything? Maybe not.
Probably not, right? I think the opening of the F-file actually might help black slightly. So
yeah.
So he goes C3. This is more normal, but
now can we take on D5? Is rook D7 happening? I guess. Okay, I guess rook D7.
No, I think he will take on E5. I think he will take on E5. It's a big central pawn. There is a rook D7 at the end, but
Queen C5.
Who knows what's going on in this position? This is Queen C6 also.
That's a sensible move. Yeah.
Sensible move.
Firm up F3. I like that.
Forcing G takes F3, maybe even. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But Martinez needs a win. Just for the sake of entertainment, I want Jose to win this game.
Yeah. Fair enough.
If he wins this game, rook D7. All right. And now, I mean, I can see a move like F5 happening by Kramnik going mad. Or H5. Something along those lines. He doesn't want to stand static here. Queen takes B7 looks good, though, I have to say. Queen is on 3.
Let's see.
Queen
so,
F5.
White's king is still weak.
Right.
But anyway, jospem has the type of position that he wants. Can you play King G2 here? Oh, can't play King H2. Oh no, King G2, H4, and G4. This is looking a little serious. Let's see now.
Yeah.
The Val bar absolutely is not budged, despite all the crazy.
Amazing. Rook takes A7.
Okay, so.
Yeah, this feels like the right move, doesn't it? Because you are sort of
potentially striking back. Like it's important that black's queen holds the rook on C8 to stop white from playing rook takes F7. Okay, but now that's not going to be true anymore.
Right.
So queen C7 and queen takes H3, then rook takes F7 it appears on the board. So
I think that, you know, these are the sorts of positions where the gulf in class between a computer playing and a human is just so huge, because to find precise moves here as a human absolutely is not easy. What? What is this, Queen e4? That can't be right. What? Oh, there was a rook on e1. I beg your pardon.
There was a rook guarding it, so we didn't see it. A couple of moves took the update a while. Yeah.
Right. There was a slight lag there.
Okay, well, this is good for white. So
yes, but yes, I mean it's kind of material and rook a7. Okay. Is he going to do it? 4 wins, and surely he's not going to do it. Surely not.
Do it halfway. I mean, there were lots of volleyball matches. There was one volleyball match where in Tokyo, in Paris, where a team had 6 set points and lost. So the other team won six volleyball points. And it's hard to win points when you're serving in volleyball. So streaks happen. I think it was Japan lost from that position.
Was that against Italy?
Yes, that's right. That's my memory. Women's volleyball.
Yeah, volleyball is one of those weird sports where having the serve is an impediment, right?
Right, 38, 35 something percent likelihood, so, of winning the point.
Well, look at this. The computer just says white is stone cold winning, and these pawns are runners. I mean, what are you going to do here?
Yeah,
Rook b2.
Black is not able to attack f7, so this should. The only thing is, you know, does white have to play bishop g1 to get a little bit more support here? Black's bishop is out of play too, so
just go c4 surely and put the other pawn on c4.
Yeah, right. C4. Yeah, just go c4. Yeah. Black's king is going to join it. So yeah, that's interesting. Wait. Okay. 12 seconds left. Can you navigate this?
Don't think it was necessary to move the king in like this, but okay. Takes. Yeah, I still
like some counterplay. Yeah.
Very marginal, though. It feels. Okay. This is over. Now you can take on g7 check, take on e5, and then go b7. If he goes king g6, you take on g7 with check.
Yeah.
So he takes on, he goes e6, but b7, rook e2. Yeah, and now after rook b2, you just take on g7. And
yeah.
That's going to be all she wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Take on e5 here is good enough. Well, that's also good enough. But yeah, take on e5.
I'll have to make the moves.
Yeah. King d5. Just make a queen. c4 check. Also good enough.
Halfway there.
Well, I tell you what. Let me tell you this. I don't want to be there if Kramnik loses 4 in a row, because that's not going to aid our overall efforts in trying to what's the word?
Well,
reduce.
I could go a little ghoulish on you. In my professional field of quantum computing and complexity theory, there is a relevant book called The Primacy of Doubt by Tim Palmer, who is a preeminent weather forecaster and modeler. And he believes in a completely deterministic theory of the universe, where we're on a fractal trajectory through different possible universes, but deterministic. So it may just be in the cards that we'll get 4 wins, not random at all. No probability ontologically. It's a foreordained track. Well, I don't want to go into further professional weeds about it, except that it's a well-recommended book.
What's the name of the book again? The
Primacy of Doubt, and the invariant subspace theory is the name of his mathematical theory, a branch of what's called superdeterminism.
Superdeterminism. Okay. Very interesting. There you go, guys. And talking about determinism, we've got the scoreboard there. 18-16. Martinez with 2 wins in a row. We already know the situation, which is that we need Martinez to win the next two to take it to a tiebreak. Now, I was briefed on the tiebreak rules. However, I didn't think I'd have to bring them up given the situation just 2 games ago. But if Martinez wins this next one, I will take a look at them, because then we will be probably close to a coin flip for that happening. So let's see. But oof, how is Vlad
The chances, discounting draws and assuming the players are equally fit, are 25%. Including draws, they probably nudged above to 12, 13, maybe even 15%. So,
okay, there you go.
mhm.
Still massive, massive underdog. Of course, you're here, Ken, but I just want to give a quick shout out to the partners and sponsors of today, IT.com. The official partner of Clash of the Blames is the domain registry website like no other. Check them out. And Pinkerton, a global leader in security and risk management, the official anti-cheating partners of the event today.
Proudly American-founded company 170 years ago. Yes.
That's right, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know them personally, but they do all the airport security as well, I believe, and that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. And it looks as though the players are ready. And, well, we know the situation. The good news is we know exactly what is going on here.
Yeah. I should say that the founder of Pinkerton was a Scotsman. So
oh, there you go. Well, I mean, most of these guys will have their roots based, of course, in Europe. So, all right, and Martinez is at the board, very pensive looking. He's obviously, you know, 2 games ago he would have thought, okay, this is whatever, it's over, play a bit more freely. But now he's like, oh, actually, okay, I'm still probably, it's still bad, but if I manage to magic this game with black, I really do have a chance. So well worth fighting for now. Kramnik's still not at the board as far as I can see, which I think is quite telling.
Here he is. Okay.
And there he is.
Water.
There he is. Okay. Players, I guess, are going to shake hands. Here we go. And Kramnik starts, and we do have E4, E5. We do have another
board. No
Spanish.
Berlin. Yeah.
But a mainline Spanish looks like we've got here. D6.
Wow.
Yeah, we saw this slightly earlier in the tournament with knight G7. I mean, this is really kind of putting it out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we saw this earlier in the match with a more classic bishop E7 Steinitz. Yeah. Still not a big fan of it, has to be said.
Oh, and the knight G6 like Nakamura's cow.
Yes.
I would have not expected that, but anyway, okay.
Well, still hate it. I think it's pretty duff, but there you go. At least it's offbeat.
And it's not catastrophic for black, according to the computer.
No.
And it's sturdy. You're overprotecting E5.
You are.
Okay. So
maybe because they had a word with Hikari yesterday. It wouldn't surprise me if they messaged last night, because it looks like he's taken on board some of the advice, although clearly that's not really gone in his favor, to say the least.
The past few games, maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, bishop B3 here by Vlad.
That's an effective move, because the black's E6 bishop is the better one, and white wants to take over D5, and F5 is light squares, although white is not close to sinking knights in those squares yet. And black decided to preserve the bishop. Ooh, that's very loose. See that? Flashing out like that. So no, now the bar has crept up over a pawn for white. So I think that maybe if I look F5 was to blame. I would not have done that.
Yeah, this looks a little bit loosey-goosey, doesn't it? But then again, you know, he's in that position where he can't just sit around all day because he needs a win. So he has to take additional risks, but maybe this was not the right way. Let's see. Queen C8 makes sense.
Yeah.
Can you put a knight on E4 or bishop on E4? That's an interesting move.
White is going to occupy D5 too at some point. So,
yeah, I don't buy this at all for black actually. Bishop D6.
Yeah, at least that you can connect the rooks. Maybe black wasn't seeing a way to do that. Queen E6 and rook E8.
Knight E7, knight C4.
Yeah.
Queen E6.
Yeah, so now.
Knight FD2, perhaps? Protecting everything?
One of those, yeah. Valbar has crept down, so white didn't. Going back though, that's wild. You know, white didn't whip, so now I think black is probably okay here.
I think it's really important for Martinez to keep the tempo up on the clock here in this game. I think he really needs to make sure that he can somehow, you know, get that 15 seconds, 30 seconds consistently, make Kramnik a little bit more nervous. But I like the speed with which Vlad is playing here, and he's still got that grip over E4. So strategically speaking, you still tend to love white here.
Yeah, black cannot put a piece on C5, so nor can black challenge E4. So black doesn't have anything really to do here. That's a problem.
Correct. Bishop C1 I like very much, getting out the way of those rooks.
I might not have been so quick to play B6. It wasn't necessary.
Tough position for Jose. Plays Queen G6.
Only real play for black was to get Knight D5 F4 in, but it maybe wasn't tactically possible.
I mean, even that, yeah, doesn't look feasible, right? So I'm not really sure what black's move is. C4 looks a little loose, giving up the D4 square suddenly, but
C5 white will be strategically designed. Oh, you're right. They gave up the D4 square, which black they took with the knight. Yeah. I was going to say earlier whether there's white can simply play to stodge this position, but it's probably not possible now to making a draw. Well, now the Valvar has gone black's way, and white's little activity is clearly backfired here.
Wow, Bishop B4. Hold on.
Structurally sounder center.
And Queen F7. He's just trying to really mix it up. And he's got that 30-second advantage now, Ken, and got to be really careful here. So takes C5. Now it's a mess.
Yes, it's just a mess. B3 now. Now black's B pawn is not a liability. Oops, something weird happened. Okay. Yeah. Now the knight is coming to F4. Yeah.
Right. But a real chance all of a sudden here for Martinez.
And 40 seconds advantage on the clock.
Exactly. Is he going to do the unthinkable? Knight F4.
D3, B3, all appearing on the board soon. White might have to play A5, hoping for play. Yep, let's see.
Oh my goodness, but D3 now on the board. Rook D2.
Well, we can win something. Oh, we can't. It's not check.
But he's down. He's a minute down on the clock, and his position stinks. So this is, I mean, you couldn't ask for a bigger chance here as Jose Martinez.
Well, black still has to find the knockout blow. It's not.
Goes B3.
Good.
F3, queen c4.
And
Still not straightforward, but now, yeah, maybe just win some pawns. Okay, take on b6, rook b8. Makes a whole bunch of sense.
Cheapos this
Correct.
position.
Take on b5.
Yeah. Now that b pawn is now a monster.
I mean, both of those guys are serious. By the way, I can't quite believe what we're witnessing here, because he is on the cusp of winning the third in a row.
Right. Now, can black play rook f7 here? Let's see. Rook d8. Okay. Other rook d8. That's weird. Oops, something got miscalculated here.
b2.
Black blundered here. So.
A little bit he did, didn't he? Because the knight can also come back to d2 at the right moment and blockade things. Still chances here for... Have I cursed him? Have I jinxed him? Possibly.
Maybe. Yeah, what's he doing?
Queen a5. h3 giving some luft.
Well, d2 is holding the pawn, so...
Rook c8 coming to c2 makes... Queen d2. That move was not queen e5 now. Okay. Yeah, now rook c2 is coming, and I like black again all of a sudden. Rook c2 in the air looks tough to deal with. Knight f2. Rook comes down to c2. Takes on d3. Oh, that's a tricky move. Wow.
No, knight takes d3.
You can just take on d3 and take on b2. Oh, no, this doesn't work. Okay, it's a piece. Yeah, this should be convertible. Knight comes to f4. Okay, Kramnik's going to try, but a piece with the rook here. Yeah, I don't think you survive this position.
Well, you got one pawn. It's a little tricky.
g5, maybe? No, that's ridiculous, is it? Okay, queen comes to f6, queen e5. Battle of the nerves now.
Yeah.
Queen b6 check. The knight comes to f5. Nicely reorganized.
Yeah, black wants to finish it with an attack, but it's hard to coordinate. It takes longer to play an attack. So now black has seen the light and saying, I got to get rid of the queens. But this is not as good as was available a few moves ago. Okay, now black just has to play quick moves to get the increment. Seconds up, 2 seconds. Oh, come on.
Correct.
But this is not by any means easy. Black has to get the king into the game.
No. This is not easy at all. But I do expect him to win it, though.
Yeah.
Rook e4. They're playing, on increment.
Yeah,
Jose is
14 seconds. That's helpful.
Yeah, slight advantage on the clock. With the 2 seconds extra, should be manageable somehow.
Get your king up. Okay.
Oh wow, we didn't actually have. Oh, here we go. We're back with the move. So rook a3, king g3, king f7. Okay, Kramnik erecting a nice. Oh, knight h7 is nice, and now knight g5 comes, and you're going to basically force white to stand pat because you don't really want to go f4 here. The question is, is the king and pawn ending winning in some of these positions?
Yeah.
I think the position on the board didn't register. The electronic board didn't register that the rook is on f5 here.
Yeah. Well, I did tactically defend the f3 pawn with the check on the f file, but
still tricky as you like.
Yeah. King f7 now. Squelch. No. What's going on? Whoop. Oh, the rook.
I don't know. I think we should go for the big board. I think we should just get a zoom in on them playing and try and decipher it that way.
Yeah,
here we go.
Down.
Oh, and the g7 pawn is going to disappear off the board. No, it's not.
F3 pawn was going to disappear too.
Okay, rook f5. Knight e4 check. But
tricky. Wait, knight d2 was winning the f1. No, that's good too, though.
Still, he hasn't found a way here.
Yeah, has not found a way in.
King d6 is And now he wants to go king e7. I see his idea. And now he's forced. Yeah, I mean, I think he should go knight g5. But there's a rook takes g7, and then he hasn't got time somehow to work it out.
Oh, we got the rook.
Oh, he found the rook trade. That should be good enough. This ending should not be savable because you can just keep a pawn on h6. No, I think even knight f5 check here might win, but he's not going to do that. Yeah, knight f6 is coming. Yeah. Wow.
Oh yeah, knight
This
f6
is just huge.
c4. It's still very tricky.
Is it? I'm not entirely sure.
Oh, now
yeah, because
now it's very straightforward. Yeah, because white cannot.
Pretty straightforward. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah,
It's knight f6. That's going to be it. He's going to resign here. Yeah.
Wowzers! Wow. 3 on the trot.
Holy cow! And as I said, I'm not going to check the tie-break rules until we get to this moment. But it's where we're at. So very, very quickly, let me just bring them up. If the scores end 18-all, the first tiebreak shall be played as described. 2 games, 1 over the board and 1 online. If still tied, a pair of games further will be played. And if it's still tied at 20-20, an Armageddon will be played over the board with white having 5 minutes and black having 4. And I guess they'll draw for that if we get there. But to be honest, Ken, I didn't even think we would be where we are right now. So that's quite something, I have to say. Fair play to Jose to find the strength after such a brutal start to the day to come back as he is and have a shot. The question is he going to get it to the tiebreak? He goes with knight c3 against the Sicilian, and he plays this Gashimov variation and just puts the queen back on d1. No interest whatsoever in getting any serious advantage in the opening here. Clearly, he's just, wants a position, and that's going to be enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, basically a very similar position to what we got in, what was it, a couple of games ago, I think now. But once again, Kramnik had a fantastic position there as well. And I hate White's position again here. Black has got no problems. 2 beautifully fianchettoed bishop, the c file to work with, squares.
Better pawns.
Just an awesome position here.
Right? It's the only trump here. And White does have d5. White can sink a piece on d5 and negate much of Black's advantage, but
well, I'm not sure, because then Kramnik goes for this g5 thing again. Martinez won't mind that, because now knight d4, knight f5s are in the air always.
Right. Now Black has the target.
Exactly.
So one thing is the change in the pawns. Rook takes c3 is never on for Black with this pawn structure. So
true. Mm-hmm. Still love Black's position here. Okay, queen d3. Mm-hmm. Knight d7 looks logical here. Knight h5 looks logical. Even a move like queen c7. He does go for knight h5. Mm-hmm. Bishop h2. And queen c7. So he's kind of combining those moves. And okay, so queen c7. Knight d4, e6. Yeah, love this. Love this move. And now rook fd8 for sure will be played, I guess, to protect the d6 pawn. You can go bishop e5 here as well. That's what he's thinking about, in my opinion. He's trying to work out which of those is the right way. I think he spent a little bit too much time there, but bishop e5 was eventually played. Still got a nice advantage on the clock, though. Has to be said.
Yeah, yeah. And
not easy for white, right?
Not easy. White has nothing active to do. Black has F5 coming, maybe. Depends on how firm the rest of the position is.
Exactly. Yeah. What are you actually supposed to... A queen f3.
Well, that hangs it. Well, does knight takes F? Yeah, knight f6 hangs the knight. Well, it's a little trickier. Oh, yeah, I had to take that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Where's that knight going?
You can put it on g7.
You can play d5 check and knight f4. Maybe that's the idea.
Also interesting.
No.
I think he's going to put it on g7. I think he's just going to come back.
Yeah, it's d5.
No, he does do. He does play your move.
Yeah, and then
he does do it.
Yeah, knight f4. Yeah, so this is. Well, the problem is black going to have horrible pawns. Let's see. Is this really sensible?
I didn't think this was necessary. I thought he could have kept the balance by just playing knight g7. There were all kinds of f5s in the air there, and I don't particularly like. And look at this, d takes e4. This is typical.
I missed that. Now at least you're not getting horrible pawns.
But this is bad, no? Like if I.
It is bad. Yeah, it's mathematic is bad. It's knight takes e6 on.
I was going to say, does that exist, or can you just take on e4? Why can't I just take on e4 here, the knight?
Yeah, let's see. Are you getting knight to d6 then at the end of these lines?
In some lines I am, and then a6 hangs, and then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
This is potentially...
let's see if jospem can take advantage of this.
I think he does it. Yeah, and we've got exactly that. You can take twice, play knight d6, and take on a6. This is a huge chance for jospem.
Yeah.
Just a huge chance.
Yeah.
Look at this. This is the dream. Rook c8, c3, you play instantaneously.
Yeah.
What a chance for jospem. Now rook e4, rook b4 ideas are in the air. What a chance. 1%.
Still, well, I'd still. What would I give black's chances to draw or win this? Probably still 40% here.
Oh, I'll take that. You can bet what you like with 40%. I'll give you 6-4.
That's right. You bet 6-4. But what's the Russian proverb? All rook endings are draws. What?
Not in blitz.
Yeah.
Not in blitz. They're not. I mean, I think that this is just a phenomenal spot for jospem. Yeah. I mean, the black pawns are just so weak here.
Yeah. I mean, b3 and c3 is a rock. It's just
a rock.
Yeah, and rook d6 is rook d6 premature.
b4 looks lovely. Now, if rook c6, you go like rook d5, or just bring the king in. Not sure about that move, but okay. Allows e4. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah, rook d5's got to happen somewhere, but.
Yeah.
I'd have liked to play rook d6 earlier because that would have forced black's rook onto b5.
Still tough. Rook e5's a threat, I think, now.
Yeah,
rook e5. Rook a8. Also possible.
Oh, that's also good.
Rook e6. Check. Okay. And now does he want to go to g4? He does. Yeah, try and win some pawns.
Now rook e5. My f3 check. Is that progress for now? Notice the eval bar has gone completely white's way, but Jose is short on time. So,
but those extra 2 seconds so critical. f3. Good try by Kramnik, I believe.
Yes.
I think you move the king to e1 now, or f1.
And now the e4 pawn is toast.
Exactly. So, this is a good try. But yeah, you block the checks. Rook a2. Very nice try here by Kramnik, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's recouped a lot of the position too. Yeah, now black has counterplay. In fact, this is I have
Well, he
ruined it.
does. Oh, but king g2, rook g6 check, rook g4 is the idea. Okay. Rook c2, nice move, because now if rook e3, rook g6 check. Lovely move here by Kramnik. Tough, tough,
C4
tough. He goes c4, yeah, good.
But
And now what do you do? King back to f1? And if rook f6, now what do you do? He's given the check on rook g1. He's trying to get active with it. Now king e3, surely, to get the king to f4. Well done.
Whoops,
Feels correct.
It's calculated here, but still 14, 13 seconds. Wow. It's just going to be.
Let's just watch. Check. Okay, king goes up to f4. Oh, and now.
Oh, yeah, not d2. Wow.
I mean,
is there a magical check here? Let's see.
There's just no mate. Check. It's just one check. And if rook cc2, this looks correct. But it's only one check on it after you put the king on e1. But you need a quick counter here.
Yep.
Rook b7 played. Check. King. And now if you go for the mate, rook h2.
The board is, oh.
And actually, that's it. He resigns because there's no way to stop the mate. Or actually his flag fell. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow, in a winning position for white. Well, we got almost all the way there, but turned away. No, it looks like no, the kings are on, black wins.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think I think black won because white's flag fell. Wow. What an ending. Vladimir Kramnik finding some incredible resources to just keep the game alive in that rook ending. And with that draw, Vladimir Kramnik is the winner of Clash of the Blames.
Yeah.
I'm kind of speechless after that, Ken, I have to say.
Yeah, I have to say that was
that was what an enormous effort by Jose to even get into that position and to have a chance after a catastrophic start and going into the over the board portion where he lost the first two. He needed to win 4 in a row. He won the first 3 and he had a winning position in the 4th.
Right.
Just incredible. Well, I'll tell you something. I think people at home have been really treated by this event. It's been 4 days of immense action, lots of ups and downs, lots of drama. But it is the former world champion who comes out on top and wins the event.
Yeah. Well, it's consistent with his having a higher rating. I think both Blitz and Standard, but very close.
Incredibly close. And there's a final confirmation, I believe, of the score. Kramnik winning 19-17. I don't believe they're going to play the last game. I haven't been given word of that. There is no last game. That was the last game.
The entire string.
We played the whole thing.
Yeah.
That is 36 games. My math is clearly not what it used to be. I think overall, I actually believe that Kramnik was the worthy winner of this match, simply because I think that if we look at even the days that he lost, I feel like he lost games due to one move blunders most of the time rather than being completely outplayed.
Right.
And
yesterday, yes.
Yes. And so if I had to say who was a worthy winner, I do believe Kramnik edged it this match, although clearly it was a very, very close match nonetheless.
Yeah. So yeah, so it was a very close match. Yeah, so it's interesting to see if we can statistically identify each player's strong points. Openings clearly Kramnik, but ends of games equal between the players. I mean, Kramnik lost in the final seconds yesterday of the last game, so hard to tell.
Very, very tough indeed. Oh, okay. I believe now, are we going to have interviews with the players? Okay.
I'm going to calculate and send my report on the last 6 games. I didn't bother Shohei Bayat with an email after posting the first 6 games.
Please do. While you do that, I just want to say thank you again, once again, to our partners, IT.com, an intelligence domains platform for all of you guys to check out. Go there, go to get.it.com. And remember to check out Pinkerton.com as well, the official anti-cheating partner of this event. It looks as though everything went as smoothly as you could hope for.
And as normal as you could hope for on my end. So, yeah.
Normal. And of course, remember to check out chessarena.com, get your 40% discount by going there today with some of the best players in the world providing their content and input. So make sure you check that out. All right. Well, I'm exhausted after that one. What a roller coaster ride we've had. And I believe we are going to have interviews with the players in about 30 seconds. Vladimir Kramnik will be over the moon to have won this match. I think a lot of people were expecting jospem to win. But Vladimir has shown that despite his age disadvantage now and despite being a little less active, he can still duke it out with the best blitz players in the world. So really interested to hear what both of these players have to say, and looking forward to hearing the first interview in just a few seconds.
Wow, Jose, what a day it was today, and very exciting chess from both of you. Anything you have to say?
Not too much. I play, but something happens.
The online format was quite surprising, and you are making a very good comeback in the over the board 6 games at the end. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, it was. I couldn't calculate on. I was not focusing on online. Somehow in OTB, I just make a boost on myself.
And how would you compare today's play compared to yesterday and the first day?
Yeah, each day I'm playing worse. So yeah, sometimes happens.
And anything you have planned to do from now and in the future or later today?
I want to do many things, but not too much related about chess. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
José Martinez, clearly you could see the disappointment, was not in a talkative mood at all, but said it how it was, that today he just played very, very badly, and he did, especially at the beginning, and he unfortunately left it too late, won 3 in a row in the over the board stretch, but gave himself far too much work to do. Clearly has other things on his mind as well. He's had a lot of personal tragedy recently, so you can't be too harsh on him at all, but the disappointment was absolutely clear right there, and I'm very curious to hear what former world champion Vladimir Kramnik has to say instead.
Well, chess is draining. It's athletic, consumes energy just like athletics does. So.
It certainly does. It is for people that perhaps don't play regularly or under this intensity, it's very difficult to describe just how much it takes out of you to play a game of chess or to play a match. So give these guys credit where credit's due. And I believe we're going to hear now from the former world champion.
Congratulations, Vladimir. A very exciting day of chess for everyone. And what do you have to say about it?
Well, it was quite a match, yeah. A lot of ups and downs, some blunders. I think if not blunders, I played pretty well, and yeah, but okay, I'm already close to 50, yeah, so it's difficult to avoid blunders. But in general, I think, frankly, it has to be analyzed, the games, but I have a feeling I played better in general, even though, of course, not always. And Yeah, but Jose was fighting back extremely well today. I relaxed a bit already when it was almost over, and suddenly he was started to play amazing chess, and it was not easy till the very last minute.
And how would you compare today's chess to the previous 2 days of the match?
It's hard to say, but I had a feeling that at the online part I played extremely well, but for me it's almost the same every day because, again, I'm getting tired, in the second half of the day a little, and of course my quality actually, I believe all 3 days was better online, but not because it's online, just because it was the beginning of the day and I still had energy, enough energy. Yeah, I mean, otherwise it could have been other way around, but I believe that, well, it's pretty clear by this match, and to me it was always clear that there is no major, cannot be major difference playing online and offline, I mean, you cannot play totally different level, and I think this match proved it again and again. I mean, that's what I feel.
And anything you have planned for the future or for later today?
Well, not really. Well, I'm going to be a coach of Uzbekistan team during the Olympiad, so we are going very soon for training session with them, and then the Olympiad, so almost a month I'll be together with them. They won the last Olympiad, so I'm quite in an unfortunate position because you cannot do better. But yeah, good guys, talented guys, and I'm looking forward to this experience.
Well done again, and congratulations on winning the match. Thank you very much.
All right, there we go. Vladimir Kramnik, the winner of Clash of the Blames, and well, he's done phenomenally well to pull through there. He put a really interesting point that he didn't believe, and perhaps one of the reasons why he wanted to play this match was that he doesn't believe that there's a massive difference in level between playing online and offline, which is a really interesting point to investigate. We can see there the final results. He does win the match 19-17, went all the way to the wire. And I think he'll be pretty pleased to have pulled through. And I do agree also that I think his chess got progressively worse as the day goes on. Clearly, the energy and the mistakes start to creep in, but he did just enough, and his class was always there. And that's going to be it for us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. Remember to get yourselves on Chess Arena, especially get that 40% discount. And I want to specifically thank everybody involved in making this event happen. I've had a blast commentating this event. It's been really, really fun. I think everybody at home has enjoyed watching this. Again, thank you for the patience, especially on the first day with some of the technical difficulties, but we got those ironed out, thankfully, for days 2 and 3. And also want to thank you, Ken, for joining me today, giving us some really interesting input and insight into the world of statistical analyses and models and their applications to chess. Where can people read more about what you've done, Ken?
So my website, just Google Ken Regan Buffalo, also has links to a prominent blog that I've co-written called Gödel's Lost Letter P = NP that includes an article last December called Have I Been Cheating at Wordle, which was responding to some of Vladimir Kramnik's earlier accusations, or whatever you call them. And on the last point you mentioned, I agree with him. My formulas were calibrated on in-person chess before the pandemic for Blitz and Rapid, and they're working perfectly well for online Blitz. So scientifically, not so much of a great divide between them at the same time controls.
There you go. You heard it there. If with enough of a sample size, looks as though playing online or playing over the board should be more or less the same level, which I think is one of the things that has been kind of a paramount to Vladimir's claims.
Slightly better quality, but well within error bars. So I can't say for sure. Yeah, so.
Further testing required. That's going to be it. We're going to sign off from everybody here, from myself and Ken. Thank you for joining us. And remember, this is not going to be the last event that we're going to be producing. So please do make sure you follow us on all the social medias, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. You can look for World Chess. And if you're in Berlin, make sure you come down to the World Chess Club in Unterden in Berlin. Fantastic venue, my favorite chess venue. I say that sincerely. It's a chess club, a cafe, a bar. There are tournaments, there are exhibitions, there are all kinds of things going on. So if you're ever in Berlin, make sure to come down there. It's certainly a spot I like to hang out. Great food as well. So do make that journey. That's it. Thank you so much for hanging out, guys. See you all on the next one.